Hello and welcome. You are watching Sutra News. The relationship between India and Canada has taken a dramatic turn, plunging into what can only be described as a diplomatic war. In a matter of months, the two nations have gone from being cordial partners to exchanging public accusations and expelling diplomats. But this crisis is not just about recent events, it has deep roots in history, going back to a tragic incident that still resonates today. So what led to this explosive situation? Let's break it down step by step, starting with a dark chapter in 1985 that continues to shape India-Canada relations. It was June 23, 1985, a date that will forever be etched in the memories of both India and Canada. Air India Flight 182, a Boeing 747 named Kanishka, departed from Toronto. Its destination was Mumbai, with a stop in London. But the flight never made it. Around 45 minutes before reaching London, the plane disappeared from radar. There were no distress signals, no warnings, just silence. What followed was devastating. Flight 182 had exploded mid-air, off the coast of Ireland, killing all 329 passengers on board. Most of them were Canadian citizens of Indian origin. Investigators quickly suspected a Khalistani connection to the bombing. Just 1 year earlier, in 1984, India had launched Operation Blue Star to flush out terrorists from the Golden Temple. The attack on Air India was believed to be a retaliatory strike by Khalistani terrorists. The mastermind behind the bombing was Talvinder Singh Parmar, a Canadian resident and leader of the Babbar Khalsa terror group. Despite clear warnings to Canadian authorities, Parmar managed to plot and execute the bombing. Multiple failures in Canadian intelligence and airport security allowed the bombs to be smuggled on board. This tragedy could have been prevented. Canada had opportunities to act but failed. When India requested Parmar's extradition in the early 1980s, Pierre Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister and father of the current PM Justin Trudeau, rejected the request. His reasoning? He believed India wasn't deferential enough to the British Crown, an astonishing decision that allowed Parmar to continue his activities from Canadian soil. Despite decades of investigations, only one man, Inderjeet Singh Rayat, the bomb maker, was convicted. The main conspirators went free, leaving many questions unanswered. Fast forward to 2010, and Canada's then Prime Minister Stephen Harper finally issued an official apology for the country's mishandling of the case. But by then, the damage was done. The attack had revealed deep flaws in Canada's approach to extremism and terrorism. Fast forward to 2023, and the ghosts of 1985 are back. In June 2023, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a prominent pro-Khalistan figure in Canada, was killed in British Columbia. Canada, under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, accused India of being involved in the assassination.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Before diving deeper, let us first know who Nijjar was. Hardeep Singh Nijjar was born in Punjab, India in the 1970s. During his early life, his family used to provide shelter and food to Khalistani terrorists who were on the run from the law enforcement agencies. Globe and Mail talked to his associates and old friends who confirmed that Nijjar was highly influenced by Khalistani ideology and supported a separate Sikh nation. In 1995, then Chief Minister of Punjab, Beant Singh, was killed in a bomb blast. Following the assassination of the CM and 17 others by Khalistani terrorists, the law enforcement agencies came down heavy on the terrorists and their supporters. Nijjar escaped India and fled to Canada using the fake identity of a Hindu man. Ravi Sharma was the name on his passport. Reports revealed that he had trimmed his hair and beard to look like a Hindu man and conceal his Sikh identity. After reaching Canada, he tried to get refugee status, claiming he was tortured by the state police. However, as he consistently denied any involvement in Khalistani activities or association with armed terrorists, the immigration agencies did not provide him with refugee status. Despite his name being mentioned in Interpol list, Nijjar eventually was provided permanent residency followed by citizenship. This allegation sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles. In response, India vehemently denied the claims and demanded proof. However, Trudeau's government insisted that it had credible evidence linking Indian agents to Nijjar's killing, though no such evidence has been made public. Things escalated quickly when Canada declared Indian High Commissioner to Canada and other diplomats as persons of interest in Nejar's murder investigation. In response to these outrageous allegations, India withdrew its 6 diplomats from Canada due to security concerns and expelled 6 Canadian diplomats, whereas the Canadian media agencies are spreading fake news saying that Canada expelled those 6 Indian diplomats. Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly went as far as to compare India's alleged actions with those of Russia in Germany, a comparison that deeply angered Indian officials. The diplomatic fallout reached new heights, with both sides standing firm. India, frustrated by the lack of evidence and feeling targeted, has now downgraded its relations with Canada. This is what the Indian High Commissioner said during an interview.
Nothing at all, no evidence presented, politically motivated, and more or less, if Mr. Trudeau or his colleagues know about it, is it not a crime not to file a charge sheet? Is it not a crime not to go the judicial process?
But I mean, you're a person of interest. You haven't been accused of anything. They would like to ask you questions and therefore asked for you or your government to waive your diplomatic immunity so those questions could be asked. You would not do that.
Wesley, on what basis? They should, if you are a defendant, for an example, which I'm not, then you will be shared with the evidence on the basis of which anything can take place. And that happens even if you have been caught for a petty crime.
Well, actually, the RCMP here, or policing forces, can say they have evidence. They would like to ask you questions. They don't have to show that evidence right away. In the courts, if they charged you, for sure they would have to provide the evidence in order to get to a conviction.
If I'm going for an interrogation, I need to know what I'm interrogated for. I need to know what are the evidence that you have.
One of the major underlying issues driving this crisis is Canada's apparent inaction against Khalistani extremists operating from its soil. For years, India has warned Canada about the activities of individuals connected to separatist groups, many of whom are wanted in India for criminal activities. India has submitted 26 extradition requests to Canada, seeking the return of individuals involved in terrorism and other crimes. One such figure is Sandeep Singh Sidhu, a Canadian Border Services official who, according to Indian authorities, has been involved with terrorist groups attempting to spread unrest in Punjab. Despite these warnings, Canada has done little to address the situation. This ongoing issue has become a major sticking point for India, which sees Canada as a safe haven for individuals who pose a direct threat to Indian security. Meanwhile, as India deals with its diplomatic spat with Canada, it's also navigating global geopolitics. Recently, India and China reached a significant agreement to de-escalate tensions along the line of actual control LAC, returning to the 2020 status quo. This breakthrough came just before the BRICS summit and is seen as a diplomatic victory for India. What's interesting is Russia's role in this development. Vladimir Putin has been quietly pushing for India and China to resolve their border disputes, as any conflict between these two powers weakens the BRICS alliance. Russia, which is facing its own geopolitical challenges, benefits from keeping India and China united, especially in the face of Western pressure. At the same time, Canada's accusations and its potential sanctions against India could have far-reaching consequences. In 2025, Canada is set to host the G7 summit, and there is growing speculation that India might boycott the event in protest. Such a move would send a strong message to both Canada and the international community. India could also strengthen its ties with BRICS in response to Five Eyes countries ganging up on India. The India-Canada diplomatic war is not just about recent events, it's about history, geopolitics, and the unresolved issue of extremism. From the 1985 Air India bombing to the present-day allegations surrounding Hardeep Singh Nijjar, these tensions have been simmering for decades. Analyzing this whole situation, we have concluded that there are two possibilities. The first being that Nijjar was killed in a gang war, in which case the Canadian allegations are false and politically motivated for Trudeau to appease Khalistani voters. It can also be a pressure tactics by the Five Eyes group on India to reduce its engagement from the BRICS. The BRICS is planning to introduce an alternate currency which will challenge the dollar's hegemony. What comes next? Will India take a stronger stance and boycott the G7 summit? Will Canada continue to press forward with sanctions? Will India press sanctions against Canada? One thing is certain, this crisis is far from over, and it could reshape India's global relationships in the coming years. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What should India's next move be? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this developing story.